Last May, a group of 4 friends, including myself, decided to go camping near a remote lake buried deep within a national forest. One of the guys had found it through a wilderness forum. It wasn't on any official trail map, just coordinates and a few vague directions. We liked the idea of being completely off-grid. No reception, no other campers, no noise, just trees, water, and isolation. It took us nearly 2.5 hours to hike in with our gear. The trail was rough, overgrown, and steep in some places. But when we arrived, the view made it all worth it. The lake was calm, the clearing was flat, and the tree line wrapped all the way around. We pitched our tents, built a fire pit, and spent the first evening drinking and talking by the flames. The air was crisp, and the only sounds were the crackling wood and the occasional owl in the distance. Around 1 a.m, I stepped away from camp to relieve myself. I walked maybe 30 yards into the trees, just far enough to be out of view. As I was standing there, I caught something in my peripheral vision, a faint light, slowly moving between the trees. It looked like a flashlight, low to the ground, sweeping left to right. At first, I assumed it was another group nearby, maybe someone hiking late, but it didn't move like a bouncing lantern or headlamp. It was too smooth, too controlled. I watched it for about 10 seconds before it stopped completely. Then it just vanished. I stood there for another full minute listening. No footsteps, no voices, just silence. When I got back to camp, I told the guys. One of them laughed and said I was just drunk. Another said it was probably moonlight or an animal. We shrugged it off and eventually went to sleep. The next morning, I was the first one up. I went to grab water from the lake and noticed boot prints in the dirt. At first, I thought they were ours, but then I noticed they were big, much bigger than any of our shoes. They circled our tents in a wide, slow arc, almost like someone had been pacing. They weren't there the night before. I pointed them out when the others woke up. Everyone got quiet. We checked our stuff. Nothing was missing. Nothing was touched. Still, we agreed to keep the fire going all day and stay close to camp. The second night was quieter. Too quiet. No animal sounds. No wind through the trees. Just complete stillness. Around 3:30 a.m, I woke up. No sound had triggered it. I just suddenly felt alert, like something was off. I looked at my tent zipper. It was open about 4 inches. I knew without any doubt that I had zipped it shut before going to sleep. Then I heard it. Leaves crunching. Slow, deliberate footsteps moving around the tent. They weren't trying to be quiet. Whoever it was, they were letting me know they were there. I froze, barely breathing. The steps stopped right behind my head. Then nothing. I lay there for what felt like an hour, but couldn't bring myself to look outside. Eventually, I must have passed out from exhaustion. In the morning, one of the guys found his backpack about 15 feet from where he left it. The contents had been pulled out and laid in a neat row on the ground. Nothing stolen, just touched. That somehow made it worse. We all silently agreed we were done. As we packed, I walked to the spot where I'd seen the light that first night. On a tree, near the tree line, 4 words had been carved deep into the bark. I liked the quiet. We didn't speak for most of the hike back. We've never gone camping together again. 2 years ago, during a long weekend in May, my girlfriend and I decided to go camping in the mountains. We picked a quiet campground we'd visited once before, small, isolated, and usually empty this time of year. We arrived late Friday afternoon. There were only 2 other tents already set up, one down by the creek, far from us, and another just a few sites over, maybe 50 feet away. We never saw the people in that second tent. At first, we figured they were off hiking. The tent looked used. Stakes were tight. The rain fly was on. And there were shoes outside the entrance. But no one came or went. No light. No sound. That night, we made dinner and sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets. Around 9 p.m, we started to hear voices coming from the neighbouring tent. They weren't loud, just a low, continuous murmur, like 2 people talking calmly. We assumed they'd finally returned, but the strange thing was, we couldn't make out a single word. It didn't sound like casual chatting, more like repetition, almost like someone practicing a speech, over and over. Around midnight, the murmuring stopped. No footsteps, no zipping sound, just silence. When I looked over, the tent was still dark. No flashlight, no lantern. I grabbed my own light and walked about halfway between our sites, just enough to feel like I wasn't invading. The moment I took a step off the gravel path, the murmuring abruptly cut off. I stood there for a minute. Nothing moved. I quietly returned to our fire, trying not to freak out my girlfriend. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been watching. We went to bed around 1 a.m. It was hard to fall asleep. Sometime after 3, I woke up to my girlfriend nudging me. She whispered that she heard someone walking just outside the tent. I held my breath and listened. The footsteps were slow, crunching on gravel. They circled us once, paused, and then walked away, heading toward the empty site. We stayed still, barely breathing, until sunrise. When the light came, I went straight to that tent. I called out, no answer. I slowly unzipped it halfway, expecting to see sleeping bags or gear, something, but the tent was completely empty. No clothes, no food, no trash, just bare ground. The shoes that were outside the flap were gone. I told the campground host. He looked confused. That site hadn't been reserved. In fact, according to his sheet, no one had booked it all week. He double-checked it twice. We were the only people assigned to our side of the campground. We started packing immediately. As we loaded the last of our things into the car, my girlfriend called me over to the neighbouring picnic table. Sitting right in the middle was a smooth, flat rock. On it, scratched into the surface, were 2 words. Still here. We didn't speak the entire drive home.